Hey, what is up, everyone? So, this week I hit a pretty big milestone for the channel, which is making YouTube videos for the last 5 years. So, 5 years ago, on July 10th, I posted my first Sea of Thieves video onto the channel, and that's really where I would say the channel actually officially started. Now, if you go onto here and you look at the oldest video, technically there was a video posted a little bit before that, a couple weeks before that, and that was just more of the Fortnite events. I don't really count that because I wasn't really making that a thing for the channel. So really I view this week as the 5th anniversary for the channel, and I thought for today's video I just wanted to kind of reflect on the last 5 years, thank all of you who have joined me on this journey and have been watching the videos, subscribed, and have just been supporting me over the last 5 years. So back when I started posting the Sea of Thieves videos, I honestly wasn't really expecting to do too much with the channel. I kind of just made the channel, kept my same gamer tag on there, and just kind of made a little logo to go with it, and then I just went ahead and uploaded it. Back then, I was still in college, and a lot of my friends, we were all doing the streaming stuff during COVID because there wasn't too much to do, obviously, back then. And we all started streaming on Twitch, and then I decided I wanted to take some of those cooler moments and put on the YouTube channel. Looking back now, a lot of the videos that I had posted back then aren't really that unique or significant nowadays. Nowadays, I would probably take a lot of these older videos and put them as just B-roll for, commentary videos and stuff. But I will say the first Sea of Thieves video I posted on the channel does hold a little bit of special memory to me because we were part of this big alliance in the game. And when we ended that alliance, basically we all decided, okay, let's have like a kind of scrimmage match between all of us, and then whoever wins gets to have the other person's flag, because we all had grade 5 Reaper flags and we wanted someone to be able to sell it essentially. So we did that, and I just thought that battle was really fun and a little bit unique compared to other stuff. So I ended up just kind of taking the highlights of it and then posting it. I have a lot of people that usually ask me why I started making Sea of Thieves videos on the channel and just kind of where I got to at this point. And honestly, I would say it's two things that led to this. First, I'm just someone that really likes video editing. I wouldn't say the video edits that I do on the channel, especially nowadays, are anything super impressive because I usually try to get videos out pretty quickly. So more of what my goal is more on an efficiency side and how fast can I edit rather than making something that's, very artistic or anything like that. So ever since I would say in like middle school, I started off editing videos and stuff like iMovie, and I would do stuff like home videos and that kind of stuff. And then when we got to 2020, I had been video editing for, a good almost 10 years basically at that point, and I wanted something more to do with that. I didn't want to just keep making home videos and, not really sharing them with anyone. So I started looking at making a YouTube channel, but then the problem becomes, what do you make videos on essentially? When I started the channel, I wasn't really intending for it to just primarily be a Sea of Thieves channel. It was going to be more just an overall gaming channel. But eventually, the other side of the story kind of kicks in. And I was a big fan of Sea of Thieves from the very beginning. I played since day one. I tried to get into the alpha program that they had, but I wasn't able to get into it. But I was always very interested in Sea of Thieves, and I knew a lot about the game. I might not be the most skilled player that's ever played. I might not be the funniest, streamer for Sea of Thieves, but I do know a good amount about the game, and I'm someone that you could like literally, place, anywhere on the map or in the water or something. I can navigate you to wherever we need to go, basically. And it always, amazes people that I play with it. And it's kind of funny sometimes because I won't be looking on the map. I'll be just swimming to different places and, trying to tuck on ships and all that kind of stuff. And I can usually tell you, oh, we're, passing by plunder outposts, and they're like, how do you know that? So Sea of Thieves just became a natural fit for what my channel should become. And I really do love the game, especially back then, because it's such a unique game. Other games, if I made videos on Fortnite, I could make commentary videos on Fortnite and stuff. Back then, when I first started, it was mostly just gameplay. But basically, every round of Fortnite is pretty much the same. You can have funny moments and stuff, and that's what, goes viral, but just playing the game straightforward is not going to be that engaging. Whereas with Sea of Thieves, I feel like every time you get on the game, it's usually something different, especially back then. Sometimes you may be, joining a giant alliance, and then eventually you make some friends and you end up sparring each other at the end and having an epic battle there. Or maybe you are, going up against a alliance server yourself, and it's just you against the odds against basically everyone that's in the server. Moments like that, I think, really makes Sea of Thieves stand out compared to other games. It's interesting to me to take a look back at like 5 years ago and both what the game looked like, but also just how my content has evolved since then. I think not only has the videos gotten a lot better since then, but the game has actually been a little bit interesting. I feel like when I started making the Sea of Thieves videos, it was in a very interesting point in Sea of Thieves history, because prior to it, there wasn't too much going on, but then after I started the channel, things really started taking off for the game. And you have stuff like the Ancient Folks getting added, or the Ashen Winds stuff, or the Emissaries being added. All that stuff was happening around that same time. And then a little bit after this, we started having the season system get introduced. We first started having seasons in the game basically in my first year of making YouTube videos. So it was pretty interesting time, and I was able to kind of jump on that. And one of my most popular videos, even still to this day, is one where I was just doing kind of like a challenge guide for season 1, and basically how can you level up as quickly as possible so that you can kind of, get an early head start. Eventually I stopped making those type of videos just because honestly it's so easy to just naturally level up during the season that you really don't need any guides like that. And also, if you saw one of my recent videos, talked about how the trials have been bugged for the last several seasons anyways, so you can't even really do it even if you wanted to. But I always found that interesting that that was one of my biggest videos for a long time, and for a while after that I kept having a goal basically of trying to overpass that. And it took a while, but eventually we got there. Making YouTube videos is an interesting hobby though, and it's honestly just not for everyone. I know a lot of people, especially a lot of kids, now when people ask them like what do they want to be when they grow up, they usually say YouTuber or something along those lines. And I'll be honest, I think it's difficult for many people. Not only is it not really profitable until you become a really big creator, but also it just takes a lot of work to do. There's been many times where I'm up late into the night working on videos to try to make sure they get out, and I try to keep up with at least 2 videos a week. Sometimes it goes down to 1 video a week, just depends on what's going on. But especially when stuff like a season release comes out and stuff like that, when I'm trying to prepare to have lots of videos to release, those can be pretty stressful. And I feel like a lot of people, they view it as, just another hobby that everyone can have, but it's honestly a lot of work. It's basically like a part-time job on its own that doesn't really make much. So, I often people ask me like, why do I keep doing it if it's not really, profitable to do? Obviously, you can make more money working more hours at a job or just doing pretty much anything else, honestly. And for me, I like having something that's kind of my own. If you go and work at a company, what you do there, yeah, they'll pay you a good amount, but once you leave, that work isn't yours. Whereas with this YouTube channel, all these videos, even, the ones that I wouldn't say I really care about too much anymore, or that I think aren't that good anymore, they're all mine. And it's kind of nice to be able to look back at these last 5 years and, just see how much I've actually done. As of making this recording, it's at 879 videos that have been posted onto the channel. It might go up to 880 by the time this releases because I have the live stream planned for Thursday. So it honestly has been a ton of work over these past 5 years, and I think a lot of people like it. I've seen a lot of, repeat people in the comments and stuff. I like being able to chat with you all about the game. I really like being able to just kind of discuss and share a lot of like the commentaries, my ideas for the game. How can the game be improved? And I guess that gets me into kind of my next thing I wanted to talk about in this video, was the interesting thing that I've kind of learned about YouTube and just kind of online content creation. And it's that it seems like these platforms really encourage negative thinking. So with my videos, I really do try to avoid being like clickbaity or anything like that. Obviously you want people to click on the videos, but I don't want it to be just me being hyperbolic or not being honest to how I actually feel on certain issues. So, for example, like we just talked about with the season 17 stuff not too long ago, I could have made a video that basically said, like, Sea of Thieves has just killed the game and it's, worst season ever is coming up soon or something like that. And that probably would have gotten way more clicks. But I tried to be a little bit more optimistic about it. But then I also made another video where I talked about on the new gunpowder kegs that are coming out and do we really need those? And I always try to be honest with these videos. But something that I find interesting with the YouTube and content creation space is that it's really encouraged that you be very negative in these videos because that's what people are interested in, I guess. Like, for example, just this past week, I released a video talking about why Sea of Thieves is still the most beautiful game ever. I'm not saying it's one of my best views or anything like that. It honestly was something that I tried to make pretty quickly because I was trying to get something out for the weekend. But one of the main reasons I made that video was I wanted to try to have a more positive video to talk about in the midst of layoffs and stuff with Rare and all that stuff going on with them, as well as just kind of the negativity surrounding Sea of Thieves as a whole. And the interesting thing about that is that video didn't really do too well, but videos that are more negative always tend to seem to do a lot better than anything that's more positive looking. And I get that to some extent. Like, if you see a video talking about, like, say, a movie review and saying that, this movie is amazing and here's why, well, you already kind of know what you need to know about that. But if they say that the movie's terrible, well, now you want to know why they thought it's terrible. So I get it to a certain extent, but it does put, I think, YouTubers in a tricky situation where you're encouraged to be more negative. And I feel like that's what you see a lot, especially with Sea of Thieves. I'm not, obviously too familiar with other games, but especially with Sea of Thieves, even on like stuff like Twitter and stuff, I feel like some people go out of their way to be super negative about the game and don't really take things at face value. Overall, I really do enjoy making these YouTube videos, but looking ahead, I'm not sure what the future of the channel will be. Will I still be doing this in another 5 years from now? I have no idea, honestly. I go back and forth on what I'm gonna do with the channel. Sometimes I think about maybe just stopping completely. Other times I think about maybe just doing less videos and not doing them as often as I do now. But I think the main question on my mind is, should the channel stay Sea of Thieves focused going forward? And that's been a hard question for me to answer. I would love to keep talking about Sea of Thieves, but after 5 years, I've really covered a good majority of topics. So we're getting to a point where there's some videos that I could redo. Like, I could probably redo my figurehead ranking video. That was one of the oldest ranking videos I did on here, and that was back when we only had 50 figureheads in the game. Now that's obviously expanded a ton in those past 5 years, but at a certain point, it gets boring, for just continuously doing the same thing over and over again. And I feel like if Rare doesn't start releasing more substantial updates to the game, there's really not much for me to talk about. For example, like with Season 17 coming up, if all we're getting is new kegs in the game and maybe, some reskinned voyages, that's not really anything that interesting to discuss for 3 months. Now, I don't want to worry anyone that's listening to this and, is getting worried that I'm, quitting YouTube or anything. That's not what this is about. But I am considering in the future, maybe going forward, adding other types of topics into these videos. I've tried to expand a little bit sometimes, like maybe talking a little bit more about gaming as a whole or Xbox in general and some of the stuff they've been doing, because they've obviously been pretty interesting over the last few years in terms of their very big shifts in strategy. I've thought about maybe going back to making Fortnite videos again. The hard thing with YouTube channels, and this is something that I've learned over the last 5 years, because I did start as a channel that was doing multiple different games and that kind of stuff, is that most people, when they subscribe to a YouTube channel, they're subscribing for a specific thing. So, like, for example, I watch a couple different tech channels, and if they started making videos on, say, football or something like that, I would be pretty annoyed and I wouldn't want to watch that, and that would actually tank the views on the tech videos. Just because of how YouTube works, they basically judge you as a whole on all your videos. So if one of your videos isn't doing too well, it reflects badly on all your other videos. So it's a hard question when you talk about gaming because there's, some people that play Sea of Thieves and also play Fortnite, but there's a lot of people that only play Sea of Thieves and don't touch Fortnite at all, maybe even hate Fortnite. So if I talk about Fortnite, then those videos are going to do bad. Same if I try to do other games. So some of the stuff that I've tried to do on the channel for the past year or so, I'd say I started doing this about a year ago, is every so often, if it's a new game release and when Funko Fusion came out or the Indiana Jones game, I might take a couple videos and make a few videos on that. That seems to be a decent strategy going forward, but it doesn't really address the long-term prospects of what does this channel focus on. The thing that I like the most to do on this channel, outside of making gameplay videos, because that's something that's just kind of fun to do, but they don't really get too many views and not too many people are interested in watching them. So I really only make them for myself, every so often. But outside that, the thing I really do enjoy doing on here is just commentary videos, kind of similar to what I'm doing now, just turning on the microphone and just start talking. That's kind of what I like to do, and just start talking about different topics. I've thought about maybe doing live streaming more. I've, looked back and forth at doing that over the last 5 years. And honestly, for me, I think with live streaming, I prefer to have like a co-host or someone else on the stream with me to talk. So usually if I'm streaming, it's either some big events going on, like I'll be streaming this Thursday for the developer direct that they're doing. But other times it's just if I'm playing with other people, and then that's when I'm streaming. Because it just feels awkward to just kind of be sitting there talking to myself. But it's something that I've considered maybe doing that more often, kind of similar to what we did a few weeks ago when we talked about the season 17 announcement, and we kind of just sat there and it was really fun just kind of talking to y'all in chat and just kind of going over stuff. Some people had questions and that kind of took us in different directions in the discussion, and I wouldn't mind doing more of that in the future. The hard part is, what do we talk about? That's kind of where my mind goes to. There's only so much you can talk about with Sea of Thieves before we need more stuff in the game, and I think that's kind of the hard part of where I'm at now. There's stuff that I could talk about with the game, but honestly, I don't think people are interested in hearing them. Like, I made a video a couple weeks ago about ranking every plunder pass in Sea of Thieves, and I thought that video would do a little bit better. I didn't think it was going to be a massive hit, but I did think people would be a little bit more interested in it. There wasn't really much interest in it. I think there's other ranking videos that I could probably do, but usually the ranking videos are some of my better performing videos over a longer period of time, so I try to do them every so often. But there's just not that much stuff left that I haven't already discussed. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of, what's the next 5 years of this channel going to look like. And it's a lot up in the air, honestly. I've also thought about just maybe starting a second channel and, just talking about stuff outside of video gaming. Maybe leaving this channel as just a video game specific type of channel, but then, make another channel that's expanding to outside commentary stuff, talking about, a variety of different topics, like, my thoughts on reaction content and things like that. But regardless of whatever the future of this channel looks like, I'm really happy about the last 5 years making it this far with the channel, because honestly, there's been so much, in my personal life, but also just trying to keep up with a YouTube channel and trying to have it be a certain level of quality and be consistent, usually twice weekly uploads. It's a lot, and I'm proud of getting to this moment, and I really appreciate everyone that's subscribed, liked the videos, and especially the people that have commented on those videos, because I really do enjoy, chatting with all of y'all in the comments and just talking about what your ideas are, what you think of, whatever I've discussed in those videos. I really enjoy all that. But with that being said, I think that's all I have to talk about with this. Again, thank you to everyone that has been supporting me over the last 5 years. And I guess if you've made it all the way to the end of this video and you're not already subscribed, well, I hope you subscribe. I would be a little bit surprised if you made it to the end of this video and you weren't already. But with that being said, let me know in the comments below, is there anything that you'd be interested in hearing me talk about in the future? And it doesn't have to be Sea of Thieves related, it could be about, making YouTube videos, it could be about, a variety of different things. I'd be interested to hear what y'all have to say in the comments, but if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you like and subscribed. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.